Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. We are about 2 minutes away from Inter Miami's 1-0 victory against Toronto FC. And for a long time, it was certainly a game, but it didn't feel like a competition. Kind of a snooze fest, but if you're an Inter Miami fan, it had an awesome finish. Luis Suarez to Leo Campana, who slams it in the back of the net. The blonde hair finally came together with the connection that could have only existed because they dyed their hair. Great way to finish the game. I think there's a lot to think about and talk about. I think we tried a lot of things in this game, and some of them worked and some of them didn't, but I think we can take away from a lot of those things. And so I don't know how much we're going to talk about those on this. This instant reaction is just to get the emotional response. So I kind of want to hear that from you, Saur, and I want to hear that from everyone that's still paying attention to this game after. As always, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling today, my man?
Yeah, snooze fest is the right word to use because I was falling asleep halfway through. It just felt very slow, very cumbersome. And I was surprised that Toronto didn't come at us more. They tried, let's be honest. They tried their best. They had some really good opportunities. Inter Miami struggled in certain parts of the game, especially in the middle of that pitch, but it just felt like nothing was happening. And yeah, Anton's right, Scotty. Unfortunately, it wasn't a 7-2 game. It wasn't a 4-2 game. It wasn't any game at some points in that match. But it felt slow. It felt cumbersome. I think generally having 10 changes on the pitch affected the chemistry, and it felt like some of the players needed to be a little bit more sharp and match fit. But we're better off because I think the game ended really well. In our favor. I feel sorry for the Toronto fans because they played well. I don't know if they played well enough to deserve the win, but they played decent. And it just happened that we've been calling for Campana and Suarez to be playing as the two-man frontline strike partnership for so long. And they finally play today after God knows how long. And the connection was so good. Like towards the end, the last goal that they made together was a Campana pass to a Gomez pass to a Campana pass to a Suarez pass to a Campana pass. And it was just beautiful. Great finish, great ball from Suarez. Ended happily, but honestly, a very uneventful game, honestly.
Yeah. Inter Miami came out in this 3-4-3. It's the same double midfield partnership that we've seen for quite some time. And we have talked about how hard that is to do when it's Yannick Bright and Federico Redondo. And we love what Yannick Bright's been doing. And we feel like, I feel like Redondo has been sort of adapting to that role. But then to bring in Ruiz and Kramaski, who have not been asked to do that, and ask them to do that really, really difficult role, I thought they struggled with the responsibilities of it, both defensively and in terms of progressing the ball and just trying to help us build forward. And then also I thought the wingbacks struggled to be a part of the build out as well. When our midfield has struggled in this formation, when Yannick Bright and Redondo haven't been able to effectively progress the ball well, we still have Jordi Alba and Chelo Wigan who have done, and Ian Frey sometimes, who have done a good job in ball progression on the wings. And I didn't think we got a ton of that from Franco Negri and Julian Gressel in this game. Not really their styles. So it felt to me more like a personnel thing than a tactics thing. We've seen it be have different levels of success over the last couple of weeks. Let's start on the back. Oscar Stadi, comfortable, solid, no complaints.
I thought one of the best players on the pitch.
I agree.
He was very stable. He was very composed, but also he was very confident coming off his line. And you notice these things about goalkeepers if you actually watch them play properly. Like if you keep an eye out for what they're doing, you tend to notice these things more. And I was keeping a special eye on Astari to see how he performs. And one thing that really stood out for me was how quickly he was coming off his line, commanding his box and working really well. I thought he was really, really phenomenal this entire game. If not for the goal from Campana and some really good performance in defense, I would say he would be a contender for man of the match. He was very, very good.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think the word you used, which is perfect, was professional. This is a guy who's played a lot of games, and he didn't look rusty. He looked completely comfortable. It is exactly the type of player you want as your backup goalkeeper going into the playoffs. And so great performance from him. I'm glad he got it. I think there was a little question mark whether he was going to actually get a chance to play for Inter Miami because we clinch on Wednesday night, and we don't need the result today. I think that allowed him to get this opportunity, and he was really, really solid. The back three, Aviles, no yellow card. So, snaps to him for that. Noah Allen, I thought was everywhere in the first 25 minutes and in the last 25 minutes. I thought he was excellent. And so for me, probably the most impressive overall 90-minute performance. If you want to give the man of the match to Campana for the final, I think that's absolutely fair. And then the front three, Campana I thought was fine for most of the game. Robert Taylor did not have a ton of opportunities. Both Campana and Robert Taylor did not have a ton of opportunities. And they are the types of players that need to be fed the ball in order to really have an impact in the game. So I don't want to blame them too much for not having a huge impact until the last few minutes. On the right side, though, I think Rojas really struggled to find this game. You saw when Messi came on and when
he looked better.
This has been one of the conversations around him is, does he need those players around him in order to be able to effectively operate? It's weird because his play style wouldn't seem to need that. It doesn't feel like he should need that based on how he plays and his sort of skill set, but certainly the proof is there. And it's once again, shown itself that when those guys come onto the field, he's got a little bit more of a spark.
I think with Rojas, it's a little bit more about surrounding him with a few ball progressors, because his game style is very much give and go, make those cute plays, and then try and dribble in small areas. And for that to happen, you need some really good passes of the ball. And that's why when Busquets and Messi were on the pitch, you could see he was linking up a lot better. His movement became a lot better immediately. And going back to that midfield of Kramaski and Ruiz, I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were particularly fantastic. They weren't particularly poor either. You're right. Defensively and going forward, they could have done certain things better. But more so, the issue with this midfield, and this sort of is a compliment to someone like Redondo, you need, when you're playing a two-man midfield, you definitely need a little bit more passing in that midfield. You need somebody who can actually make those progressive passes and can keep the ball ticking, maybe set some tempo. And neither Kramaski nor Ruiz necessarily had that in their game yet. So they were sort of out of the game for large parts, or at least that's how I felt. And once Busquets came on, it became a lot better.
Yeah, and part of that's also they just haven't done it a lot.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly,
so it's not even that they don't have it in their game.
No.
It's just you give them 3 or 4 games straight of doing this, it'll be better. But just coming off the bench cold, or coming from the bench cold in this game, you could see that they weren't quite clicking in. I also think if you surround them with a little bit more in terms of ball progressing wing backs, it also helps alleviate some of the pressure off of them.
Just someone who's good on the ball, essentially. And that can be either on the wing sides or like Jordi Alba automatically changes the entire dynamic. And that's what I was thinking. Having a player like Jordi Alba is so underrated because he can do so many things going forward. And when he's not there, you won't notice him when he is playing in the team. But when he's not there, that's when it really stands out. Our offensive output just dips drastically. And he's a big factor in that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. One of the things we expected was Inter Miami to come out and press high, and that didn't really happen. And I want to give Toronto credit. I mean, clearly that wasn't part of the game plan, but Toronto did a phenomenal job in the early parts of this game playing in Miami's half of the pitch. And so Miami never really had sustained possession up the field in order to have like little turnovers that can lead to sort of counter pressing opportunities. And so I was surprised we didn't play that style, but I thought Toronto came out expecting us to play that style and tried to prevent it by, playing higher up the pitch and just sort of calmly pulling the ball forward. Getting to the chat, SD says, "I said it, Campana." I mean, it's an awesome goal from Campana, right?
And it just goes to show, as long as you get him service, he can really deliver. And that goal was so well taken. The ball, first of all, from Suarez, really good. I was very surprised that he was given the role of being on the left-hand side of the pitch and not the central striker. I would have assumed Tata Martino would put Campana on the left and Suarez in the middle. But very happy to see that Suarez, despite not having the legs to run, was able to create something. Great ball into Campana. Campana, fantastic movement. He went in and then out. If you look at the goal, he got away from his defenders and took it on his knee, and a really fantastic finish to cap it off. Dude, we haven't even said this. The points record is still on. It was gone. Like, I was not expecting us to win this game. I thought this is going to be a done and dusted draw, but The points record is so on. And if we don't beat New England at home with all our firepower on the pitch, oof.
Not only is the points record on, and let's come back to that because I think that's probably how we should end this conversation. But the Canadian sweep, something that we've talked about a
Yeah,
lot over the last couple month or so, winning on the road at Vancouver, at Montreal, and at Toronto. Inter Miami gets it done. Now, I did the research, and Inter Miami is not the first team to ever do this. I found in 2015, NYCFC also did this. So not a sort of new record, but still really impressive.
It's a record not something that happens. Call now, our own now, yeah.
It's a jewel in the crown, and to go on the road and beat all three of these teams in very difficult road trips, especially that Vancouver one, not nothing, right? And certainly Inter Miami should be proud, and of the fact that they played so well on the road all season, which leads to my next point of part of the reason this game felt weird is because we've never really let being on the road affect us a ton. A few games, Cincinnati and the Red Bull game, maybe LA Galaxy early in the season. But for the most part, Inter Miami has done such a good job of going on the road and still playing their game, still feeling comfortable, and still sort of doing the things they do. And it felt like Inter Miami in this game actually had that roadness of the MLS hit them. They didn't look particularly comfortable on the ball. They didn't have anything from the crowd to get them going. They didn't have a player that could just make an individual play to kickstart things. And that happens all the time on the road for MLS teams. And I have seen it so many times for Inter Miami over the last several years that it's so familiar to me, but it felt weird today because that's not been what Inter Miami has done this season. And so it took me 20, 30 minutes for me to be like, oh yeah, this is what happens when you play on the road for most teams all season. And for us, it's sort of only when we rotate 10 players. So that was cool, I guess, to see it. And the fact that they could overcome that and get a goal at the end was awesome.
Yeah, and there's a case to be made about, yes, we didn't put on our best team. That's probably why we struggled a little bit on the road. But you would expect, our expectations are that even our B team or our second string team can go out and win away at the MLS. It's not easy, man. You forget having such a good team winning constantly on the road. This was, I think, our 11th away win this season. I'm not even sure if that's a record or not. We might need to check that.
It's hard because the like in the early years of MLS, they used to not have teams draw.
Yeah.
So there's some records
the statistics.
Yeah.
But regardless, it was a tough game. It was a tough watch, I think, as fans. But Inter Miami got the job done somehow. We needed some of our players to step up from the bench and make the difference. And we managed to do it. But our away form this season has been absolutely no joke. And it's also very interesting that a couple of weeks ago, or like a week ago, when we started off with that 3 draws in 3 games streak, you and I were like, okay, we're losing out on a lot of our, records that we were thinking we would get. And now quietly we've ticked out like 2 of them. And now the third one is almost done as well. And we've just quietly gotten there over the finish line. And hopefully we can take this momentum into the playoffs because we're not going to play another away game this season. So that's going to be very helpful.
Anton, you're absolutely right. No 7-2. I was a little ambitious in what I thought our performance could be. I really did expect Inter Miami to come out hot and try and press high up the field. I did think they would get 2 goals, and I thought, considering the circumstances, that Toronto would sort of collapse. I told Saur right after my real score prediction was probably like 5-1, so not really less ambitious. And certainly that's not what came to be. But I'm still happy with a 1-0 win. Let's be fair. I'm seeing a lot of chats from Circus and from Nuno about the pitch. Did you feel like that had a big impact in this game?
I have it written in my notes, and my one-word note was pitch ? I don't know. I think it did make a difference. You could constantly see Messi brushing off his boots again and again. So it did feel like it wasn't as slick. Obviously, at some points, the green was absolutely bolted out. I think the way Inter Miami likes to play with those quick passes doesn't suit this sort of a pitch. So you could see it was bouncing in certain areas, especially the attackers. Campana was not great at holding up the ball, and a lot of it had to do with the odd bounce that the ball was taking, and it wasn't a fun game to watch. It was sloppy. It was really weird. The ball wasn't smooth. So I would blame the pitch a little bit, but again, you don't want to. Both teams have the same pitch, so you can't
Yeah.
really blame it too much.
Yeah. Miami King says Allen masterpiece, man. He was so good. Can we just stop and talk about him for a second? Because
Do you want to talk about him today? Because I feel like we're going to definitely talk about him tomorrow. But
okay,
I really,
I have emotions about him because he's a left wing back and he's now a stud at center back. He was the best center back on the field for either team, and every other center back on the field is a professional starting veteran center back. And Noah Allen's balling out. He was everywhere in the beginning of the game, man. He was awesome. Another incredible performance from him. It's like 4 games in a row where he's just been on it.
That's an understatement.
He's moving up the depth chart, man.
No. That's an understatement for today's game. He was phenomenal today. He was absolutely phenomenal. There were instances where he was covering up that one challenge that he made in the middle of the box while Owusu was just about to take his shot and blocked the shot. And he immediately got up and pumped. I was like, this boy's grown, man. He is really grown. He felt like the senior center back in that back line, which is saying a lot. And he really covered up for some of the deficiencies that Negri has, because they were really utilizing that area of the pitch. Derek Etienne Jr. was very good at certain points of the game. Yeah. And on that side of the pitch as well, like they were really trying to create some overloads there. And Noah Allen just swept everything that was coming through. Not a single peep went past him.
I have a question. Do you think that he has... Okay, so our center back partnership in the playoffs is going to be Aviles and Devin Martinez.
100%.
Assuming they're both healthy and available.
Yep.
But do you think Noah Allen is playing himself in so that if David Martinez is not available, Tata might go with Noah Allen instead of Busquets? Because it has felt like Busquets is the number 3 center back. But
I think
Noah Allen has been so good, man.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think Tata Martino is going to go with Allen as the sole center back alongside Aviles. He will potentially put Sergio Busquets in there, but the way Allen has been playing, he is ready to play that role. And Tata Martino might actually now be thinking, okay, yeah, he's ready to play that role. So I would 100% be comfortable having him in that center back partnership with Aviles if Martinez is unavailable, because he's just been so good, man. So good.
He really has. Bizrat says, what a finish from Campana. Even the 1-2 with Suarez is superb. Campana also a guy I thought got better once the subs came in and there was just more action on that part of the pitch. So he was able to have a bigger impact. It's so many times with Campana, I feel like he's in these games where he's sort of in the graveyard shift and there's never really action going forward that can allow him to be what he is and what he wants to do. And so it's, and then he gets criticized for not having an impact. This game was nice because he didn't really have an impact for the first, hour plus of this game. But once the subs came on and there was more for him to actually be able to do, you saw that he was able to have a better impact.
Yeah, Campana's the kind of player that you need to provide service to. Otherwise, he does really good things throughout the game, like hold up the ball, press from the front, and is very athletic, gets involved defensively. But his job is to score goals, and he's a target man. Unlike Suarez, who likes to get involved in the creation of the goal, Campana is a target man, and
he can do it though.
He can do it. He can get involved, but his output is not the same as Luis Suarez. Suarez is a freak when it comes to that, right? So yeah. But Campana, if you get him the right service, he will make sure he finds himself in the right spot. This was DC United again, right? All over again. And Campana showed up, man. You can't fault him for that. You can't fault him for that at all.
Campana has 9 goals on this season.
Yeah.
That is a lot for a backup striker who, is, when your starting striker is playing 2,500, 2,600 minutes to have 9 and he might get 10 goals is crazy. And now 1 game left. He might finish his regular season still as Inter Miami's top all-time goal scorer. David says Kramaski was off today. We did talk about Kramaski. I think it's just a very difficult job he's being asked to do, and to come off fresh on sort of a tough pitch and without being surrounded by the first team, it's just a tough job. And I thought he was fine going backwards, but of course, if you want to excel in that role, you also have to be able to do the going forward part. And so he didn't do that today. I think it's fair to criticize him, but I think there's a lot of, it wasn't like he was set up to shine in this game. He was asked to do a lot of dirty work.
And maybe our expectations were a little bit higher for this team in terms of how they can play. Because again, we are playing away from home. The pitch wasn't great, and we
Yeah.
did have 10 changes. So having 10 different players in the team, it takes time to build that chemistry and get the ball going. It just didn't feel smooth. It always felt stop and start. And Toronto didn't offer much. They were good going forward sometimes, but they didn't offer much, and there wasn't much space to do anything as such. And Kremaski's never been that ball controller, passer of the ball who's going to really, create, who's going to
Yeah.
keep the midfield going. And Ruiz doesn't do that either. So he would be more effective if he
And
had somebody to do that role for him.
I thought they both had a couple nice moments. Kremaski had a nice through ball to Robert Taylor. That was basically our only real opportunity in the first half. David Ruiz had like one or two nice dribbles where he sort of sidesteps a player and then takes it forward a couple yards. But it's just very difficult job to do when you only have two players doing it, and then to have the defensive responsibility on top of that, all of that. Guys, let me ask you, game-winning goal in the final minutes. Give it a like button, hit the like button, because A, it helps us out, but also part of this is just to like have fun and interact after great moments like that. And so we would really appreciate that. Thomas says, Ustari and Allen, man of the match for me. I mean, if you want to include Campana for the game-winning goal, but in terms of 90-minute performances, I agree. Those two were the best. And then Aviles, no yellow card. Tell me I'm dreaming.
This was a weird one-off game because Aviles did not get a yellow card. You just know this was a weird game.
By the way, I will just say 3 game-winning goals this season by Leos, and none of them by Messi. So that means something special is coming in the playoffs, man. I'm telling you. Pythias, Gressel was not good. Should we talk about Gressel? It was just, there was nothing there, man.
There was nothing for him to do. I mean, there was a lot for him to do, let's be honest, but nothing at all. He was absolutely missing. Absolutely missing. Would you say worst player on the pitch? I don't want to say
rewatch the game before.
Yeah, I don't want to say it in that way, but
I thought Franco Negri also didn't have a great game. It's just the thing with this style is you require both of the wing backs and both of the midfielders to be able to be sort of ball progressors, and by one of them being a ball progressor, it gives you more time and space for the other ones, and it just helps everyone. And so when all 4 of them weren't really doing it, it was putting pressure on everyone, and then it didn't work really well. I also don't think that's Gressel's real style.
Yeah.
We talked about in the pregame what it might look like with Rojas and Gressel sort of playing on top of each other.
Didn't look good.
Didn't like it. Miami King says, beautiful goal and assist. Absolutely agree. Skrilla says, Ustari was awesome, and he was. Taran says, I don't like that pitch. It's terrible. Joey says, I know Suarez did a great pass, but Suarez was not good. Suarez has been poor of late. I actually agree. I thought Suarez had a little bit of a tough performance up until the end. He
was playing in the left wing spot, so I wouldn't blame him. And he doesn't have the legs to beat anybody in that spot. So it wasn't like he was central trying to make things happen. I was very surprised. And I'll mention this again. Tata Martino, kudos to him to playing Campana in the middle and Suarez on the left, because it led to the goal. But I would fully expect Suarez to be the middleman here, because Campana does have the legs to play that left wing role. So I don't blame Suarez, man.
We're going to get into we'll rewatch the game and then get into
I don't know if I want to rewatch that game, dude.
Well, but stick with me for the last 30 minutes, because once the subs came on, we saw some interesting personnel decisions on where we were playing players.
Yeah.
You mentioned Suarez, but we saw Matías Rojas sort of check into the midfield. I thought that was weird. We were sort of playing without a left winger between Robert Taylor coming off and Suarez coming on, and that was interesting. And so Negri was like trying to fill that role, but also had the defensive responsibilities. I don't know, it's weird. I want to go back and rewatch it before I say anything, but it was interesting to me, some of our personnel decisions in terms of coming off the bench. By the way, speaking of coming off the bench, we had this conversation in the pregame show. When Tata doesn't like what's happening, he brings on Yannick Bright, and guess who played really well? Guess who played really well?
He played so well. He just shuts everything down. And I don't think Toronto had anything to offer once Yannick Bright came on. It just allows so many of the other players to not worry about what's happening behind them and just focus on creating those passes and forward runs. So Bright, man, what can we say?
Nuno says, Allen is growing in the position for sure. What a difference from just a couple months ago. Agreed. The last 4 games he's played, he has been excellent.
You know what? If you think about doing like a post-season award show, there are so many players that you can do like breakout stars for. But Allen is almost one of those that I want to say deserves it because nobody expected it. And his performances over the course of 5 games have been absolutely spot on. He has been relentless and brilliant throughout those 5 games.
Guys, we got almost 150 people watching right now. Do me a favor, hit the like button. By the way, Saur, because we do awards so often on this show, certainly we have to do a postseason awards show. That absolutely has to happen. Sean says, when we had Aviles play it out wide for him, Drake would never, and I love Drake. I guess that's about the distribution from the goalkeeper. Yeah. Mark says, seeing how Campana and Suarez play together on the pitch, if you guys were in Tata's position, would you play a 4-3-1-2 formation with a midfield of Gomez, Bright, and Busquets, then Messi right behind the strikers? You'd have to have Ian Frey instead of Cello. But here's the thing. I think it's too late. It's too late to experiment.
No.
Too late to experiment.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it, but I would love to see it.
I would have loved to see this.
Oh, that's such a good formation.
I would have loved to see this against Philadelphia 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so if it really worked, we could have done something with it. But no, I like on paper, I think that could really work. And
yeah, 4-man diamond midfield, so good.
Does it feel like Tata Martino has built some trust in Leo Campana, Noah Allen, Ian Frey over the past couple of weeks?
Scotty, man, like you ask me all these questions about Tata Martino, and I always give you an answer, and I'm always wrong. So why do you put me in a position to always be wrong about these things? Yes, I think Campana has built a little bit of trust, and that was my point about him playing centrally, that I was surprised by Tata Martino taking that approach, pleasantly surprised. And that makes me think that Campana maybe has earned that trust, and he had a captain's performance. He got the goal at the end, which is all that you can ask for. Even though I think he did hand the armband to Messi after he came on, which I don't think should have been the case. He should not have handed the armband to Messi.
We're not going there. We're not going there.
So.
On the official stat book, he goes down as the captain for this game. SD says, Noah Allen, what a great game. Sean says, Christoph quietly had a great game. I agree. I thought all three of the back three were good.
Backline was really good.
Aviles had one moment where he almost got – where he did get turned around by Derek Etienne Jr. But other than that, I thought he was good. There was also a moment where he was going in to make a yellow card tackle, and then he pulls up at the last second. No. I was like, claps, slow claps for that one. And then I don't know says, wow, Aviles, no yellow card. What an improvement. Nuno says, Aviles is working the refs now and apologizing to opponents after fouling. Someone gave him good advice. It's all part of the process, guys. It's all part of the process.
He went to therapy.
Silo says the most boring 60 minutes of my life. 93 minutes, 91 minutes.
Just about. 60 is too generous.
Nuno says Alba is low-key the most important offensive player beside Messi. No argument.
Hard to disagree.
Ustari was awesome, by the way. Agree. Messi TV says Campana with 3 clutch goals this season. DC, NYCFC, and today. Campana's a baller, man. I would be so remiss if we don't get to see him be the guy for at least a season at Inter Miami, because I think if he gets a full season as the guy, he's going to be the guy for the next 8 years.
That was such a good finish, man. Such a good finish.
Campana was called up to Ecuador. I think he was. We talked about it in the pregame show. He must be brimming with confidence, and what a way to get into the international break with a goal like that. Campana now has the claim to come in for Suarez after 60 or 70 minutes into the playoffs. He's never going to take Suarez off in the playoffs, but maybe for that left wing spot, right? I wouldn't mind seeing Diego Gomez come into the midfield, take off like a Redondo, and then put a Campana up top. That I think could really work.
And you talked about Tata Martino having confidence in Leo Campana. What that allows is he's not going to take off Suarez. I completely agree with you, but we can change up the formation a little bit. Right. And that I think is a very big vote of confidence if we see Tata Martino do that at any point during the playoffs, just bringing Campana and Suarez on at the same time, because that can really add some offensive power to your front.
And by the way, not to compliment us on the back, but about a month and a half ago, we did a podcast in the midweek about some of the things we wanted to see in the rest of the season. And one of the things we talked about was Campana and Suarez actually being on the pitch at the same time. I'm just happy it happened. I'm happy it turned into 3 points today. Quasar says it was painful to watch. No midfield, so nothing in attack, just a few normal attacks. Yeah, and listen, part of this system is to not
use the midfield.
Not use the midfield. Although Busquets came in and he was, things started happening. So,
Yeah.
Do you think there's a world where we have this sort of formation and it's Busquets and Bright in the midfield together? Or do you think he's not going to go that way? I agree. I don't think he's going to go that way. Hidden says, good goal from Campana. James says, we won the cup, so no rush. We won the supporter shield, but the MLS Cup is still coming. Sean says, Aviles won't be there one game too. So Alan or Frey is getting a start. Alan is in center back in a center back 3. Could definitely see that. Marcelo, I think Miami now has a goalkeeper. You're not going to see Ustari again for Inter Miami unless Drake Calendar gets injured. Allen in a back 3, yes. Back 2, no. We have seen Allen in a back 2 over the last couple of years.
And that's, I think, been the most surprising part. He's played the center back, not just left center back. So he's coming into his own, man. He's coming into his own.
And he's found a way to deal with the size issue, as Nuno mentions. Silo says, anyone will be better partnering Messi and Suarez because they pull defenders towards them. He needs to improve on his hold-up play and creating his own goals. I'm guessing this is about Campana. But, yeah, but...
His hold-up play is generally really good. It wasn't great today.
Not being Luis Suarez doesn't mean you're not good.
Yeah.
Like, we are happy to acknowledge that he's not able to do what Luis Suarez is able to do. But in terms of like the MLS standard, he's a very, very good striker. Guys, hit the like button. It's a great win, and we got 150 people watching, so we'd really appreciate that. Ash says Ustari showed his experience and professionalism, I think. We talked about Ustari, but a really good performance from him. Will Campana ever stop the backheel passes to the other team? Says Ash.
One every game.
You gotta mess up in order to get the great plays. Daniel says Allen redeemed himself today. I'd never seen him perform so well.
Did he need to redeem himself?
I don't think so, but he was
very good.
Still very good today. I agree. Skipping that. Skipping all of this. It's the anti-popcorn formula. Cynical Tube, I think you might be the real MVP. And I'm just happy I don't have to wear the pink shirt for every single game.
And Cynical, you just need to switch to nachos, man. It's much easier that way.
Messi TV says, yeah, I once suggested the 4-3-1-2 with Messi playing as an attacking midfield and connecting the midfield to the forwards. I think one of the things about this formation that you'd have to be concerned about, and it would just be something you'd have to play into, and you'd be a little worried on the first match. But if both Campana and Suarez are playing in the middle of the park, you're not leaving a lot of room for Messi to operate, and he has to be the focal point of the team. So whatever offense or team you build, it has to start with Lionel Messi.
Yeah, it'll very quickly.
Yannick Bright's number 2, but whatever.
It'll very quickly become a 4-3-3 with, I think, Campana shifting out left, Suarez in the middle, and then Messi using the space that's remained there. So
and Messi just does the same thing.
Yeah.
I think the thing about this is we just want to see a midfield of Gomez, Bright, and Busquets.
I love to see that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it would be cool. Ash says Campana will come back better after his upcoming stint with the Ecuador men's national team. I hope he gets to play. I don't know what their pool looks like. I know they have some really talented players and some veterans, but they're bringing him in after a long time, and it's not because he's just been dominant, but he's had a few clutch goals, and I think this is a player they want to incorporate into the team. So I hope that he's really given an opportunity to play for them. Silo says, Saur, question for you.
Do I know what legend Otamendi is for Argentina? But even he hands over the armband to Messi. Yeah, I don't have an issue with people handing over the armband to Messi. I just think, I personally believe if you've been handed the captain's armband, you keep it for 90 minutes, regardless if it's Messi, if it's Busquets, whoever it is who's coming on. I just think it's fine to hold on to that armband for 90 minutes if you're staying on the pitch. But again, I completely understand why he did that, and it's a matter of respect, and that's admirable, but it is what it is.
Just for the record, I'm totally fine with him giving it to Messi.
Circus Fun says, I'm fine as well, but I feel like it just,
Circus Fun says, we learned in this game that the team only plays as good as their opponents lately.
That's always been the case. That's a very good point, actually, and I think we may need to explore this a little bit further tomorrow. But this is true. This has been a thing.
That feels like a thing that's easy to say, but I don't want to go there, right? We were playing a very rotated offense. I don't want to go there. Messi has been sort of being reintegrated lately, so I don't really want to, dive too much into that, because that shows that's like a mentality thing, and I don't want to sort of put those question marks on this team, at least not without really, having some evidence to back it up. DJ says Inter Miami can win the treble now. No treble, but maybe next year we can win like 4 or 5 trophies. Jay Hopper says, is it me or the MLS analysts have slowly become anti-Messi? Taylor Twellman certainly has.
Today's commentary was fine, I think.
I will say Marisa Du has commentated our last 2 non-Zivin and Twellman games, and I thought he was a little poor compared to what he's been. He's been one of my favorite guys this season. Vaishnav says that tackle on Messi. I thought when it first happened, I thought it was a second yellow for Seattle, but then I realized it was someone else. Cynical Tube, off to watch the Yankees. By the way, I'll be joining you in the next half an hour. And then DJ says, Messi effect is everything. Moral of the story, trouble loading. Guys, do us a favor one more time. Hit the like button. And Saur, I said we would finish on this conversation. The points record, the MLS points record is right on the table for Inter Miami. I mean, I remember a year and a half ago thinking, man, if we could get 50 points, that'd be a great season. That was my mindset for like the last 3 or 4 years.
You were
if we
optimistic.
Get 50 points, that would be a great season. And we're at 71 points. We have a chance to break the points record. This is insane. They're playing New England in a game that does not matter at all for New England. It's going to be our tune-up for the playoffs. So we're going to be starting almost, a full strength 11. It's going to be at Chase Stadium. They are going to hopefully be well rested after the international break, aside from, Messi and Campana. They're going to win. They're going to break the points record.
It has to be. Like, it's in our court now. We just need to smash the ball to the other side and finish it off, because it's in our court. There's absolutely no excuse to lose to New England at home in a tune-up game right before the playoffs. Absolutely no excuse. So, yeah. Excellence is our standard. As Ash says, we have to set the standards high. There was a time during the season when we were like, okay, may not happen. And I was okay with it. That was, I think...
You mean like 4 days ago?
Yeah, no, 4 days ago. 37 minutes ago, I thought it wasn't going to happen, and I was okay with it. And then Campana scored their last-minute goal. It just feels like we're destined for greatness this season. And I know it could have been great with having won the Leagues Cup and having won the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But listen, we have to start somewhere. And what better way to start than setting the points record, winning the Supporters' Shield, and then absolutely storming the playoffs. We're going to get there eventually.
I'm just looking for some quotes from Tata Martino before we wrap this up. I will say Cincinnati and Orlando City play each other tonight. And so if you're interested in another MLS game, those are 2 teams we might see in the playoffs. Orlando City has been on fire of late, and I hate to say that, but they are going to be the number 4 seed. Cincinnati obviously has been struggling of late, has been passed by Columbus, but they're still sort of right there to try and get home field advantage up until the Miami matchup. So those are two really good teams in the East that are in different places, but are equally talented. So if you're looking for a game to watch tonight, I recommend that. So filibuster for me while I read some of these Tata Martino quotes to see if anything is sort of must.
You know what? I was rewatching the goal right now, and there's one thing that I saw, and that was Diego Gomez in the middle of that park, winning the ball high and then passing it off to Luis Suarez. Man, that's what we've been calling for. And that 4-3-1-2 really actually lit a bulb in my mind that we need to play Diego Gomez in the middle with Yannick Bright and Sergio Busquets, because that can unleash a side of this team that we haven't seen before. Listen, guys, we're finally at the end of the season. We've got one more game left. I know you guys have seen a lot of us over the last couple of weeks. We've done some 20-odd podcasts over some 40 days. It's been fantastic having you guys around. It's been fantastic talking to you guys. It's been great talking to you, Scotty, as always. We've tried to cover all these games at our best potential, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. We're almost there. One more game for the regular season and then the playoffs, and you all have to be there for the playoffs, right?
By the way, Tata Martino did say he thought Noah was the best player of the game. Just wrapping up some of these last ones. Jay Hopper says, on MLS wrap-up, the analysts kept reminding us that Miami did this and that without Messi, and they don't need him. One of the things I want to say about this, and haven't seen this be part of the discussion, but this team that is so good and so deep and so talented, that can still get incredible results without Messi. Like Messi deserves a lot of credit for it being here, because if it wasn't for his recruiting them to come, or just being an attraction to get players to join the roster, like the team wouldn't be this talented. So I don't even like using that as or I don't like it when people use that as a negative against him, because he's the reason that this team is so good, not just his talent on the field, but his profile and his ability.
And we wouldn't win against Columbus, and we wouldn't win against Philadelphia. Like there's just so much that he does to this team that nobody else can do. He just brings that quality up, and you need those players in your team.
Do you can't wait for Martinez to be fit? Do you think he will pair up or replace number 6? He'll pair up with number 6, with Toto Aviles. It's going to be Aviles and David Martinez, assuming they're both healthy and not suspended. I mean, I could see us going back 3 with Busquets in the middle, but I think that's what we're going to see in the back. Vaishnav says Sergi Roberto should have come to Miami instead of going to Como. I don't think Sergi Roberto was ever really in the plans for Inter Miami. Like, I don't think that's something Inter Miami really wanted to do, just based on how everything unfolded. So I hope he has a great career elsewhere, but I don't think that's really something that's happening. And then Nuno says Martinez should be ready for the last fixture in the playoffs. We did get some good news on David Martinez. He is sort of almost healthy. We've sort of thought for a long time that he's going to come back for that New England game, and that feels like where we're heading. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow to break down the entire game. We will unfortunately have to rewatch it. We'll go over the interesting points. The tactics were, meh. I thought there were some interesting things we tried, and whether they didn't work or not, and mostly didn't, it'll be interesting to at least explore them and talk about them. And we'll give out some awards and all the fun stuff we do in our post-game recap. But for now, do us a favor, hit the like button, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy this Inter Miami win in the final moments, and I hope you guys will join us tomorrow for that post-game. But until then, have a wonderful weekend. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.